Hi, my name is Dr. John Heary, and today we're going to be talking about, um, about hypothyroidism. So I have a lot of information that I want to go through today. So I'll go as quick as I can, and I'll try and uh, highlight some of the most important things. But when we're talking about hypothyroidism, there's a couple things. One is that we want to find out what the actual cause of the hypothyroidism is. Okay. And then, another question that we need to answer and talk about is, can hypothyroidism be reversed? All right. So again, my name is Dr. John Heary. I'm a licensed chiropractor and I'm certified in functional medicine and functional nutrition. And I'm also a certified clinician in whole food nutrition. And there's got a picture of my family there. I have three kids, two boys and a girl, and my wife. But anyway, so we're gonna go ahead and jump. We're gonna jump into it here. And okay, so you know, I want to touch on the management of hypothyroidism, or what I call the conventional management of hypothyroidism. Most people typically what'll happen is you're going to have some type of symptoms going on. Whether it's weight gain, fatigue, your energy is a lot lower than it used to, but some type of thyroid type of symptom. Then you'll go to your doctor and you'll get some blood work done. And typically, when your doctor looks at your blood work or orders your blood work, they're going to order your normal labs. Plus, they'll look at what's called a TSH, which is thyroid stimulating hormone, and maybe T4. So what happens is that if your TSH level is high on your blood work, that's going to indicate that you have hypothyroidism. So you get the diagnosis of hypothyroid. And typically, what's going to happen is they're going to start you on some type of T4 therapy. All right, T4 therapy. That's one of the hormones that your thyroid makes. And T4 therapy, that's going to be your synthroid, levothyroxine, etc. And then typically from there, you're going to have blood work done regularly, checking your TSH. Initially, it's going to be probably you might have it checked again within 3 months or every 3 months, to make sure the TSH was within the normal range. Now, what's important when we're looking at the thyroid is that you need to understand that your thyroid is interconnected with every single cell, tissue, and organ in your body. Every single cell has thyroid receptors on it. Okay, this picture here shows the relationship of your thyroid. This is only with your endocrine organs. Okay, so you can see it has a relationship with your pancreas, with your duodenum, which is part of your digestive system, with your pituitary, your gonads, which will affect sex hormones, your parathyroid, your adrenal glands. So it has a relationship with, like I said, every single cell, tissue, and organ in your body. So this picture here shows the HPT axis, okay, which is the thyroid, pituitary, hypothalamus. But what you'll see is that above your thyroid, you have two organs, two glands there. Okay, the first one's your hypothalamus. So this is going to show you the pathway of your thyroid hormone. So what happens is your hypothalamus, which releases TRH, which is thyroid releasing hormone, that's going to signal to the pituitary to release that's your TSH, okay, your thyroid stimulating hormone. And again, your TSH, that's the one that your doctor is going to look at on your blood work. So what will happen is if your thyroid's running low, okay, if you have a hypothyroid, your TSH is going to be up higher because your pituitary is going to, signal, it's going to put out more TSH, telling your thyroid, you know what, we got to pick it up, we got to run faster. Okay. Now, also, if you have a hyperthyroid, okay, it'll do the opposite. Then you'll see your TSH will be very, very low on your blood work. All right, so what your thyroid does then is your thyroid's going to release two different hormones. Okay, there's T4 and there's T3. Now, T4, that's the inactive form of thyroid hormone, and that's the one that your thyroid's going to produce. 95% of what comes out of directly out of your thyroid is going to be the T4. The active T3 is only about 5%. So one of the things, and we'll talk about this, is that your body's going to need to take that inactive T4 and convert it into the active T3, which is the form that your body can use. Now, that inactive T4, that will also go into what's called reverse T3, and you will also make a little bit of active T3 at that level as well too. Um, let's let's talk here. So again, so your total T4 is going to go into active T3, and then part of it's going to go to reverse T3 and active T3. Now, what's important about this is that most of the conversion that takes place from your body taking that inactive T4 and converting it to that active T3 so your cells can use it. All right, 80% of that, or most, that's going to occur in your liver and in your digestive system. Okay. So if you have a problem that's downstream with the conversion, okay, it doesn't matter, how much TSH you or how much thyroid hormone you take. We need to make sure that the entire pathway, from the hypothalamus all the way down to your liver, your digestive system, converting T4 into T3 is working properly. These are just some of the most common interfering factors with the thyroid. If you have excessive stress, it's going to cause an increase in cortisol, and if you have high cortisol levels, that's going to block the conversion of T4 going into that active T3. So you're not going to have enough usable thyroid hormone. Epstein-Barr virus, liver congestion, right? So if the liver's not working, same thing, we can't convert T4 into T3. GI tract dysfunction, same thing, it can affect that conversion process. Environmental toxins, vitamin and mineral deficiencies are very important when it comes to your thyroid. Calorie restrictions. Some people, go on these low-cal diets that are, they're extremely low, and what that does is it's going to slow your metabolism down and also affect your thyroid as well too. Chronic alcohol consumption, mercury exposure, traumatic brain injury, diabetes, loss, also insulin resistance. So insulin resistance can also cause problems with your thyroid, and your thyroid can also cause insulin resistance or type 2 diabetes as well too. Um, high free radical loads, prescription drugs, medications, they can cause problems with your thyroid. Inflammation, the halogens, some of the most common ones, fluorine, chlorine, they'll block your thyroid hormone production. Infections, right? If you have an infection in your gut, Lyme disease, rickets, heavy metal toxicity, intestinal hyperpermeability, also leaky gut syndrome, gluten sensitivity, intolerance, celiac disease. There's all kinds of different stealth infections that can do it. If you're anemic, if you have a mitochondrial dysfunction, hormone imbalances, looking at not only cortisol, but looking at progesterone, estrogen, testosterone, adrenal gland dysregulation, deficiencies in essential fatty acids. We talked a little bit about the liver already, autoimmune diseases, and this slide here shows some of the impacts of thyroid hormone deficiency. So again, as I mentioned earlier, every single cell, tissue, and organ needs your thyroid. Okay, so it has thyroid receptors on there because thyroid hormones can affect every cell in our body. These are some of the most common systems that'll be affected. One being your brain. It's going to impair, the blood-brain barrier. Microglia, those are types of brain cells. You'll get neuroinflammation, reduced neuronal branching. This is, one of the, a very common cause or common symptom that people have when they have a hypothyroid is brain fog. Okay, and this is why the gastrointestinal system will also be affected. You'll have reduced intestinal regeneration, impaired intestinal motility. So your digestion is going to be slowed down, and when your digestion is slowed down, you're going to also be at an increased risk for developing gut infections as well too. Um, Impaired gallbladder contraction, which can lead to more sludge, gallstones, impaired digestive enzyme production and release. So you can have decreased absorption of nutrients, of vitamins and minerals. It's going to affect your bone. Um, It'll cause what's called decreased osteoblast activity. Now, the osteoblasts, those are cells that are bone building, so they build bone cells. Osteoclasts, all right, are cells. That means when you have increased osteoclast activity, that's breaking bone down. So when you have when that system's out of balance, bone building versus bone breaking down, that can lead to osteopenia, osteoporosis. Um, your muscles are going to be affected. It's going to decrease anabolic response. You're going to, you'll have a tougher time building lean muscle. Um, Now, when we talk about muscle, we're not, we're talking about skeletal muscle. All right. So the skeletal muscles, those are the muscles, that, if you're working out, if you're lifting weights, right, you're going to build those muscles up. But we also have to remember other muscles in the body are just as important, right? What's the most important muscle? Your heart, right? So it's going to also affect cardiac muscle. So your heart's going to be affected if you have a thyroid, if you have a thyroid problem. It's going to cause decreased mitochondria, ATP for muscle contraction, right? So your skeletal muscles, your heart muscles are not going to contract as effectively or efficiently. Your metabolism is going to be affected. Impaired lipolysis means you're not going to be able to break down fats as well. So that's one of the reasons that leads to weight gain, leads to increased fat storage. You have blood sugar dysregulation, so it can cause and lead to more insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes, decreased anabolic activity. It's going to alter the feedback to your pituitary gland, and decreased thermoregulation. That means you may feel cold. You may you're gonna have temperature. You'll have a hard time adapting to different temperatures. So you may feel hot, may feel cold. Um, your vascular system's also going to be affected. You'll have decreased endothelial nitric oxide activity. So you have loss of vascular protection. You'll have the vasodilation in those blood vessels. Your immune system's going to be affected. It's going to be weakened. You'll be more apt to get sick. You'll have decreased antioxidant production. Your T cells, those are very important, help fight infections. So you'll have an exaggerated immune response. Then something that we'll talk about a little bit later are, also autoimmune conditions, right? When we talk about the thyroid, we have to talk about Hashimoto's, Graves' disease. Um, these are some of the most common symptoms that people have if they have a hypothyroid. And only about 10% of hypothyroid patients show overt symptoms. Dry hair, a loss of the lateral third of the eyebrow, puffy face. You might see like swelling, water retention, an enlarged thyroid, right, which is called a goiter. Slowed heartbeat. So that's one of the effects it's also going to have on your cardiovascular system. It can lead to joint degeneration, arthritis, cold intolerance, which I mentioned just a second ago. It can also cause depression as well too. People say that it's all in your head. No, it's not all in your head. Um, your thyroid has a direct effect on what are called neurotransmitters, and one of the most common ones that's going to affect is serotonin. And once you start affecting serotonin levels, that may lead to depression symptoms. It can cause dry skin, fatigue, right, loss of energy, forgetfulness. It can cause changes in menstruation, leading to menstrual disorders, brittle nails, constipation, right? We talked about decreased motility in the digestive system. It's going to cause weight gain, muscle aches, pains, also infertility. Uh, what I want to do here is talk a little bit about why is good thyroid health so important. Okay, and this is obviously I just mentioned a whole bunch of reasons, but we'll talk a little bit more in detail here. So let's start with bone metabolism. All right, your thyroid gland, it's going to affect calcium status. All right, I got to remember that the majority of your calcium is going to be stored in your bones. Okay, now the thyroid manufactures and stores calcitonin along with your what are called your parathyroid glands, which are four small glands that sit right next to your thyroid. And though calcitonin is a calcium regulating hormone. It's going to affect, as I mentioned before, your gastrointestinal function. Chronic constipation is very common when you have a hypothyroid because an underactive thyroid, it slows down the food going through your intestines, which also increases the potential for gut infections. It's also going to affect male reproduction. It's going to decrease sex drive in males. It may cause impotence. It can decrease sperm count. Um, and it's going to affect your gallbladder, your liver. Hypothyroid is going to cause the gallbladder and the liver. It's going to be sluggish. It's going to be congested. It can lead to gallstones. Can lead, and if the gallstones get severe enough, it may lead to, gallbladder removal. Okay, and the gallbladder is important. There's a reason why there's a reason why we have one. It's not just an extra organ. Um, and this is a vicious cycle because T4, again, that's the inactive thyroid hormone, is converted into T3, the active thyroid hormone in the liver. So this leads to fewer thyroid hormones becoming active. And that's one of the reasons why, if you of many thyroid patients who are taking levothyroxine, Synthroid, they're you get your blood work back, your TSH looks great, but you still don't feel good. Okay, this is one of the reasons. So we have to look further downstream. You may have plenty of T4, but guess what? Maybe your conversion process is off. Okay, so that's another possibility as to why you still have thyroid symptoms and you still don't feel well, even though your blood work looks good. It's going to affect fat burning, right? Many thyroid patients have an inability to lose weight, even when calories are low and exercise is high. So you're doing all this hard work and the weight's still not coming off. So, due to slow metabolism, adrenal hormones, with, epinephrine, norepinephrine, they're less active. It's going to shut down lipase, which is an enzyme that breaks down fat. Uh, it's also going to have a direct effect on insulin and glucose metabolism. So, and this is also another thing that can lead to, foggy brain, poor memory, a loss of memory. The brain is the most voracious consumer of glucose. So when glucose metabolism is poor, so is brain function. So again, this is another reason why. How hypothyroid can lead to brain fog. Thyroid hormones and cholesterol, low thyroid function, it's going to cause one to make more fat quickly than it's burned. All right, this may lead to elevated cholesterol, increase in triglycerides, increase in LDL, which is considered the bad cholesterol. So again, if you have high cholesterol, we always want to look, okay, what is the root cause? What's causing the high cholesterol? Okay. It's going to change brain chemistry, and again, because it's going to affect, neurotransmitters, which, are chemicals that affect the brain. It can lead to depression, mood disorders, lethargy, weight gain. We'll touch on estrogen, metabolism, and breast cancer. So a low thyroid may lead to an increase of what's called the proliferative estrogen, right? And that's the estrogen that has a tendency to lead to breast cancer, uterine fibroids, and ovarian cysts. It's also going to affect stomach acid production. This is extremely, extremely important. It may decrease the body's ability to produce hydrochloric acid, which can lead to digestive complaints such as heartburn, bloating, gas. It can also cause a decreased absorption of vitamin B12, iron, and calcium. And it also decreases protein digestion. So, if it causes a decrease in B12, iron, those types of things, that's going to lead to different types of anemia. Or if it affects calcium, that also may cause osteoporosis. Decreasing protein digestion is also going to affect many things in your body, because your body needs protein for all sorts of things, but it's going to make it harder to build lean muscle. It's going to be harder to build cardiac muscle. Can body heat and hot flashes. Body temperature is going to be affected. So again, it can cause hot flashes and also night sweats. Low thyroid can also cause decreases in progesterone production, and this may cause heavy menstrual bleeding. It's going to make it harder to lose weight. It's going to cause depression, and this is one of the ways that can lead to a decrease in serotonin. Is that if the thyroid causes a decrease in progesterone, if you have low progesterone, that also can affect serotonin levels. It can cause headaches, poor sleep, etc. Again, you want to find the root cause, fix the root cause. Okay, you don't want to use progesterone creams, because the problem, it's at the receptor level. You need to look upstream. You need to look at the pituitary gland. You need to look at the adrenal glands. All right, so next thing I want to touch on are the thyroid hormones and anemia. So it can cause B12 and folic acid deficiency due to low stomach acid. 12% of people with a hypothyroid have pernicious anemia. Okay, so that's an autoimmune disorder. It can lead to iron deficiency anemia, and especially if you have excessive menstrual bleeding. Then you also couple that with low stomach acid. That'll also increase iron deficiency, which may lead to anemia. Hypothyroid is also going to increase your risk of heart disease. All right. One of the things a low thyroid or hypothyroid can do is it can lead to high homocysteine levels by compromising your liver's ability to manage it, okay, to detox it. High homocysteine levels increase the risk for heart disease, dementia, and neurodegenerative diseases. And that's the homocysteine. It must be checked on your blood work, on your lab work. You need to see where that number is. And hardly anyone ever checks it. Super, super important. So one of the things that I always do is I have what's called a heart sound recorder. So you need to listen to the heart, graph it, find out how the heart's working. We need to know what the rate, rhythm, and tone of the heart is. Because again, when you have a hypothyroid, that can cause cardiovascular issues. It can lead to valve problems. It can lead to a weak heart. Right here, the graph I'm showing you here, these are your normal heart sounds here. They're called S1 and S2. And I'm not going to go into a lot of detail here, but when you look at it, you're going to see a crisp line between the squiggly lines. Okay. So again, I'll show you a couple, and you'll see here, this one, your thyroid's going to cause autonomic nervous system imbalances. You can see where I have it on here. It says slow heart rate. Hypothyroid will typically slow the heart rate down, which will show up on this evaluation. It can speed the heart rate up as well too. The way it does that is if it's a hyperthyroid, or many times what will happen is that when you have Hashimoto's, which is an autoimmune thyroid disorder, that may cause when it kills off some of your thyroid cells, that may cause your thyroid to dump thyroid hormone into your blood, which is going to cause your heart to race, and your heart rate's going to increase. Let's see here. This one again. This is showing some of the disorders. I'm not going to talk. Here we go. Okay, so Here you're gonna see where that straight line, it becomes squiggly. All right, so we might see flutters. This is very common, that I'll see this with autoimmune thyroid patients, and hypothyroid as well too, which may be caused by the autoimmune. But again, there's showing flutters in your heart there. Um, and so when you see flutters like that, that means that the heart rhythm is not working properly. Mitral valve incompetence. This is the mitral valve. And you can see where the word circled there. That's showing that the valve's not closing properly. You may see that with especially if there's an enlarged heart, or if the thyroid just slows everything down. Um, this is another mitral valve disturbance that's commonly seen with thyroid patients. Um, I, you know, One thing we need to talk about is Hashimoto's, and hypothyroidism. As I said, you can see up here, it can be induced by various diseases. An autoimmune cause accounts for approximately 90% of adult hypothyroidism, which is it's mostly due to Hashimoto's. And the majority of Hashimoto patients are women between the ages of 20 and 60, and nearly 10% show overt hypothyroidism. Right. So on here, this slide shows what happens to your thyroid gland when you have Hashimoto's. Okay, so again, Hashimoto's is an autoimmune thyroid, and what's happening is that your immune system is attacking your thyroid. On the picture on the left, that's a normal thyroid. The one on the right, you can see all those little dots in there. Those are lymphocytes, and lymphocytes are immune system cells, and you can see all those lymphocytes in the thyroid because your immune system's attacking the thyroid. All right, so when your immune system attacks the thyroid, it's going to kill thyroid cells, leading to a hypothyroid. Um, these are cadaver slices of a normal thyroid and an autoimmune thyroid. So um, the one on the screen on the left, you can see that there's no redness there. That's the normal thyroid. The one on the right side of the screen, you can see all that redness in there. That's an immune thyroid, an autoimmune thyroid. Okay, so someone who had Hashimoto's disease. There's three stages of autoimmunity. There's stage one, which is called a silent autoimmunity, in which you're going to have elevated TPO and/or thyroglobulin antibodies, um, but there's no symptoms or loss of tissue. Stage two, there's autoimmune reactivity. So again, you're going to have elevated TPO, which is thyroid peroxidase antibodies, and/or thyroglobulin antibodies. And it's very important to have both of those checked. And now, in stage two, you will have symptoms at this point, but you're going to have normal TSH levels. So oftentimes it's not going to be picked up yet at this point because the TSH is not affecting the blood work, or lab work looks normal unless you have those antibodies checked. Stage three, what happens here is you have elevated antibodies with symptoms, and also there's a change in your TSH at this point. It's going to be elevated, okay? Because now there's enough thyroid damage being done by your immune system that's causing your thyroid to go hypothyroid. All right, so then your pituitary tells your thyroid it needs to pick it up and produce more hormones, so your TSH levels are higher on your lab work. Uh, Key clinical concept. Hashimoto's is not only a thyroid disease, it's a multi-system disease with numerous vicious cycles, and it must be managed as a multi-system disorder. This is what I call the web of Hashimoto's. It can affect your microbiome, right? Your digestive system, the neuron web. It can affect the brain, autoimmune web, right? Hashimoto's, and it can also lead to other autoimmune conditions. The endocrine web, as I showed you earlier, your thyroid is intimately connected with every other endocrine organ in your body. The immune web, which we talked about, dysglycemia web, right? We talked about insulin resistance, about diabetes. The hepatic web, it affects your liver, your gallbladder. The neuroglial web, again, affecting the brain. Uh, Now, here are 4 reasons why it's urgent that you get your Hashimoto's under control. So, although your symptoms, there are probably motivate you the most. Here are some other reasons why it's urgent that you take control of your Hashimoto's. Number one, you're at risk of developing other autoimmune diseases. All right, so unmanaged Hashimoto's means an out of control immune system. This significantly raises your risk of developing more than one autoimmune disease if you haven't already. So it's not really a question of if you're going to develop another autoimmune disease. It's more of a question of when is it going to happen. All right. Number two, brain inflammation and degeneration. An unmanaged thyroid condition is an unmanaged brain condition. All right. Hashimoto's inflames and degenerates the brain, raising your risk of neurodegenerative disorders. You'll also, number three, chronic inflammation all over the body. So, not managing Hashimoto's keeps your body perpetually inflamed. This inflammation or, this inflames your brain. It causes chronic pain. It exhausts your immune system and raises your risk for multiple chronic health disorders. It can also cause multiple food and chemical sensitivities. There's many different autoimmune conditions. There's over 140 of them. I just put some of the most common ones that you may have heard of. With the thyroid, we touched on Hashimoto's, Graves' disease. That's going to be your hyperthyroid, overactive thyroid. The brain, there's autoimmune cerebellum, MS, multiple sclerosis. Joints can cause rheumatoid arthritis, psoriatic arthritis, connective tissue, which is lupus, can affect your nerves, causing neuropathies. In the bowel, it can cause other autoimmune conditions are Crohn's, irritable bowel syndrome, celiac disease, pancreas, type 1 diabetes, skin can cause psoriasis, vitiligo, stomach, you have gastritis, and also pernicious anemia. Uh, so, if you have neurological autoimmunity, it can lead to multiple sclerosis, which causes a demyelination. If you look on that picture on your left-hand side, it shows a nerve fiber, and surrounding that nerve fiber, there's what's called a myelin sheath. That myelin sheath is made of cholesterol. It's very important because that's how nerve conduction takes place. When you look at the one on your right, you're going to see that myelin sheath is breaking down. When it breaks down, you're going to have altered nerve conduction, and that can lead to that demyelination is what MS is. Uh, Here, you can see the dried skin on this person's scalp or head. That's psoriasis. Um, Skin autoimmunity. When you have changes in pigmentation, that's vitiligo. Rheumatoid arthritis commonly can affect the knuckles, the hands, also other parts of the body as well. So again, as a recap, when we're talking about autoimmune disease, it's your own immune system attacking your own body. Okay. Um, Now, this picture here shows cells underneath a microscope. All right, the cells on the right-hand side, those are the normal ones. You can see how full, how round they are, versus the cells that are on the left. You can see that those cells have collapsed, they're flat, they're stuck together. So, normally, every single cell should have a charge across that cell membrane. And if your cells start to lose that charge or there's a decreased charge there, the cells may also lose that roundness. Okay, they may start collapsing. They'll get what's called a rouleau formation. Um, so your cells, they're not going to flow past each other the way that they should. Nutrients aren't going to be able to get into the cells, while cells are going to have a tough time getting rid of waste products. So these are some of the problems that can happen on a cellular level. Uh, when you get a thyroid evaluation, as I mentioned earlier, it's very common that your doctor may only order a TSH and maybe a T4. That's not enough to let you know what's truly going on with the thyroid. Okay, this is a complete thyroid panel here. You got your TSH, your total T4, the free thyroxine index, your free thyroxine, your free T4, your T3 uptake, your free T3, your reverse T3, also your total T3, thyroid binding globulin, your TBG, your thyroid antibodies. You need to make sure that you have a complete thyroid panel done to find out what's going on with the thyroid. But you also need an expansive panel, okay, or what I call comprehensive blood panel, not just the minimal blood panel that's typically done, by most doctors. Um, now, um, these are 7 of the most common patterns of hypothyroidism. Okay. The first one is primary hypothyroidism. That's the only one that's typically looked at by most doctors when they strictly look at your TSH and maybe a T4. They're typically not going to find out about any of the other patterns here other than that one. Number two is hypothyroidism, which can be secondary to pituitary hypofunction. Three, which we talked a little bit about that one earlier, that's thyroid underconversion. You need to convert the T4, that inactive hormone, into T3, which is the active form. You can have thyroid overconversion and decreased TBG, or thyroid binding globulin. You can have TBG, thyroid binding globulin elevation, thyroid resistance, which is it's very similar to insulin resistance, which we see in type 2 diabetics, and autoimmune thyroid, which we did talk about, Hashimoto's. So again, comprehensive blood work is needed, and I'll go over a couple of the ones that maybe haven't heard of before, that I had on the slide prior to this. First one being thyroid overconversion and decreased TBG, which is your thyroid binding globulin. Now, there's a good chance that many of you haven't heard of what TBG is. So TBG, the way you want to think about it is you want to think about TBG like a school bus. All right. So what TBG does is it carries your thyroid hormone throughout the body. Okay. So it's going to take your total hormone. It's going to carry that hormone. So it basically, it's your hormone is bound to the TBG. It's a school bus and takes it to whatever cells need that hormone. Once that hormone or those gets released from the TBG, then it turns into what's called the free hormone. All right. So, and that's why on your lab work, you need to look at the total hormone and also the free hormone, because you need to see the total that's in your body. That includes what's bound to your TBG, and the free hormone is the unbound. That's actually the form that your cells are currently using. So if you have increased levels of testosterone in women, that can create this pattern of too much T4 being converted into T3, and it causes an underproduction of TBG, thyroid binding globulin. So what'll happen is the excess T3 is going to overwhelm your cells, so they develop a resistance to the thyroid hormone, and it can't get into the cells, which leads to hypothyroid symptoms. Now, let's talk a little bit about the TBG, the thyroid binding globulin, if it's elevated. All right, this is common with women that have taken oral contraceptive pills, or who have been on estrogen replacement therapy. Um, the thyroid hormones, again, they're carried in the bloodstream by TBG. All right, now when estrogen levels are too high, the body makes too much TBG. And since the thyroid hormones in the bloodstream bind to the TBG, there's not going to be enough of the free hormone available to enter the cells, which leads to your hypothyroid symptoms. All right, and this is one of the reasons why, when your doctor does your blood work, your TSH, your labs, it looks normal, but you still have symptoms. Okay. It's not all in your head. There's a problem taking place. They just, whoever's looking at your labs, they just didn't order all the right labs, and they didn't find out where the problem was actually stemming from. All right. So I'm going to show you guys a few cases here. Okay. What is very, very important. All right. If you're looking to, reverse your hypothyroid condition, or if you're looking to, reverse an autoimmune condition like Hashimoto's, you want to make sure that you hire a doctor that's done it before. You should ask them, can I see case studies? Show me other people that you helped reverse this. Not just throw them on hormone, thyroid hormone, so your TSH looks good on your blood work. Show me some changes. Show me what you've done to change it so they feel better. And it's and I don't I don't want to get um, too much on the soapbox here, but I will show you a couple case studies. So in this one, you're going to see the TSH. Okay, you're going to see lab work on the right hand side of the screen, then you'll see labs on the left. The initial labs are the ones that are on the right. The follow-up lab work is on the left-hand side. And what you'll see here is the TSH. Um, her TSH, when she first started, was at 2.56, which is a normal TSH level. She had a normal TSH level because she was medicated. She was taking Synthroid. Okay. So Synthroid had her TSH levels normal, but she felt terrible. Okay. And one of the things that's going on with her is that when you look down, you'll see that her thyroid peroxidase antibodies and the thyroid globulin antibody, both of those were abnormal. You'll see the TPO is at 107, which is it's rated blue, so it's like code blue. That's the worst you can get. Red, that's the next. Anything that you see that is red or blue is outside of the clinical range. Anything that's yellow, it's not clinical, but it's outside the healthy range. And we need to look at both the clinical and also the healthy range. So she came to see me, and she underwent um, uh, care. And what you'll see is when we did her follow-up lab work about 3 months later, you're gonna see that her TSH, it went red. It dropped super low from that 2.56 down to 0.141. Now, what happened there? Because you're probably saying, like, "Oh my God, why did it drop so low? That's not good." Well, what happened is you got to remember, so she was on Synthroid, right, the thyroid hormone, and what happened is when she underwent therapy, underwent care, her thyroid started working better. So now it's working, and all of a sudden the TSH dropped super low because she didn't need to take thyroid hormone. So her endocrinologist ended up taking her off of her medication because she didn't need it anymore. Now, you'll also see with the thyroid antibodies, okay? Um, there's two of them there again. So the thyroid globulin antibody, it went from code red, went back to normal. Okay, so you're seeing the reversal of the autoimmune condition. Her thyroid, her TPO antibodies, they decreased. They're still high. There's still more work that needs to be done, but it's on the right path, and she's on the right path. Um, Let me show you another one here. This is Katrina. Um, and this just want to show you her thyroid antibodies. Okay, so the TPO antibodies from her initial lab work, which is on the right, and on the left is the follow-up lab work after 3 months. You're going to see a significant reduction. The TPO went from 175 down to 115. The thyroglobulin went from 115.2 down to 103.3. So again, they're on their way down, which is good. And that's what we want to see with proper treatment. Uh, this is Stephanie. She's very similar to the case I showed you just 2 cases ago. So with her, same thing. On the right, those are her initial lab work, and then on the left was some follow-up blood work. But her TSH was at 0.871 with medication when she came in. And her thyroid, her TPO antibodies, and her thyroglobulin antibody, those were off the charts at 156 and 1.7. So a few months later, under care, you can see that her TSH, it dropped down super low because, again, she didn't need all the thyroid hormone that she was taking. So her endocrinologist started taking her off of the thyroid hormone, started reducing it down. Because again, she just didn't need it because now her thyroid is working better. It's working the way that's supposed to because she was getting proper treatment for the thyroid to recover and get better, okay? So your thyroid can get healthy again, okay? It's important. I can't stress that enough. And you can see, like I said, her thyroglobulin antibody that went all the way back down to normal, and her TPO antibodies went from 156 down to 113. So still high, but they're on their way back to normal. Um, also, it's super common where, like I mentioned before, that, hypothyroid patients, autoimmune thyroid patients, have a tendency to gain weight and they have trouble losing it. Okay. So I wanted to show you this because I want to show you that it's possible when you do the right things and you feed the body properly, give it the right nutrients, and do what you're supposed to, right? The body can lose weight. All right, here's someone, and this is in one, two, three. This is in it's about 6 weeks. Okay, she started out with her body weight was at 223.6 pounds, and within 6 weeks she was down to 199.9. So she lost around 23, 24 pounds within 6 weeks. So again, even when you have a hypothyroid, when you have proper treatment of the body, you can lose weight as well. Um, this is another patient, um, Janine. She did fantastic. Here, what she said that she's off all of her medication. She has more energy that she's had in years. And she, in her words, she said that I helped to reverse her Hashimoto's thyroid condition. Um, so again, whenever you're looking to hire a doctor to help you with your thyroid condition, whether it's hypothyroid, whether it's Hashimoto's, you you don't want to just hire anyone. Okay, you want to hire someone that's had success treating people that have those conditions. Okay, so again, I know it's a lot of information. I tried to get it in as quick as I could. So if if you need any help with anything, please let me know. I'd love to meet with you, love to talk to you. And again, I really hope that this information helps you out. So again, it was very nice, and I do thank you, for watching this and being able to share this with you. Okay, I look forward to talking to you later. I'm going to go ahead and unshare. All right. Bye for now, guys.